but... Welcome back to another featured garage vlog. Today I should stay inside and do nothing because I'm pretty sick, but I have car parts for the CRX, so I'm gonna go install those.
Grindcore, bro. Grindcore.
So the mounts that I have in the car now are the mounts that came with the car, and when I pulled the mounts out for the first time, I discovered that they were trash, as they very well would be in a car that has, I think it was 220,000 miles on it. Some of the bits of rubber weren't even attached to the metal casing anymore. So, I mean, they were just non-existent. So, at the time, I filled the mounts with window weld, which is just, it's just a polyurethane that you use to seal your window to the car. And it worked for the most part. I mean, I know this isn't a very good test, but if I do this, it doesn't move. But it does move in a race environment. The first pass I made down the drag strip, it seriously felt like the engine was just going to fall out of the bottom of the car. And the exhaust was just beating underneath the car. There may have been other things in the car hitting the firewall.
That bumps, jumps and shit.
And whatever else. It was kind of terrifying. And with the engine and transmission, you know, rotating this way, that's not going to be conducive to proper power application to the ground. And then you end up with things like well, wheel spin and wheel hop. So, enter the engine mounts that are going in today. I'll be installing these today, and then I'll go drive around and see how they do, see how much of a difference there is, which I'm sure there will be a lot. And at some point, Dave has graciously offered his full race traction bar for me to borrow indefinitely, or until I get bored with drag racing, just so I can take care of every weak link that is transmitting power to the ground. Currently I do have polyurethane bushings anywhere I can put polyurethane bushings, so with the new engine and transmission mounts and a traction bar, it'll just be up to me and having a decent tire. I mean, yes, I'm still running 175 width all season tires, but yeah, so let's get these installed, and hopefully I don't die from being sick with Ebola or whatever. First, I have to figure out how to get this completely destroyed nut off. Yeah. If it doesn't fit, force it. Nope. So apparently I can't just hammer on a socket and get the nut off with an impact gun. And I don't have any sockets that I can use that would kind of cut into the nut to help grab onto it and rotate it off. But I do have a die grinder. So I think what I'm going to do now is try to resurface the faces of the nut so I can get a socket on there and actually properly rotate the nut. So we'll see how this works. So, with just a bit of light massaging with the die grinder, I've destroyed the nut and cut through it. Put my Craftsman chisel, Cobalt chisel. This is not a chisel. Put the screwdriver on it and just beat it until the what's left of the nut finally started to rotate, and it just now did. So, cool. It's spinning. What I'm going to have to do now is get that nut all the way off, and before I put the new mount and a new nut on, I'm going to have to go over it with a die and clean up the threads. So yeah, cool.
Grindcore, porno,
Grindcore, porno,
corn core. That's a thing.
Old window weld mount, new polyurethane mount. Woo! Here we have the passenger side mount and the mount that's going to replace it. Woo! So So there's a bolt back here that attaches to, I don't know what that is, the front subframe. So the front subframe, that attaches to the rear transmission mount. And you'll see a lot of times on the internet, people ask, how do I access that bolt? How do I get to it? How do I take it out? Just like this. What you will need, I'm gonna wait till I get this all the way out, or I know it's all the way unthreaded. You're going to need a length of extensions, a swivel socket, and a 14 millimeter, or excuse me, a swivel joint and a 14 millimeter socket. So if you've got those, it's easy. If you don't have those, you have to go get those. Okay, I have the last mount out, and while the mounts did have window weld in them all, and they were pretty good for, you know, daily driving, just driving around town, they didn't work out very well for race use. The passenger and driver's side engine and transmission mounts were pretty solid, but this rear mount, the rear transmission mount, has a lot of flex in it, even with this window weld in there. So of course this is going to contribute to all of the wheel hop. So I'm going to put the new mount in, bolt everything up, and see what kind of improvement we have. Okay, that's it. The mounts are in. At this point, I'll go ahead and start it up. I'm going to leave the hood off for now, and then attach a GoPro to the windshield facing down to the engine bay so we can see how much it moves. Before I get to that clip, I'll go ahead and play a clip for you from a time when the car was on a dyno with the window weld mounts. So that way we can kind of get a comparison to see how the window weld mounts compare to the actual solid engine mounts. Oh, if you're wondering why the oil cooler is covered in duct tape, it's really cold outside and there's no thermostat in the oil system. Okay, so it's dark outside and the GoPro died, so there's not a whole lot of useful footage there, but what I can do is state the obvious. The car feels, well, the engine and the transmission feel a lot more solid in there. Power delivery feels a lot more solid, meaning there's not a whole lot of wasted energy in the engine rotating like this, you know, as I get on throttle and shift gears. The first time that the tires broke loose in second gear, it didn't do it the way it normally does, meaning you know, the power kind of builds up and it starts to spin and then it begins to just completely spin. Anyway, the tires spun much earlier in the RPM range, and they didn't gradually begin to spin. They just like broke loose like I was driving on ice. Because there's no wasted energy now. So the next step would be to get better tires. That'll happen eventually. It's still just, you know, a car I drive to work every day. Getting better tires means I need better wheels, larger diameter and wider. I'm currently, I think the wheels on it now are 13 by, I don't know, 6 inches, 5.5 inches, something really small. But the tire size is a 175 something, I don't know, they're 175 width tires. They're tiny, and they're cheap tires, so yeah, that takes care of that for today. That took way longer than I anticipated, but it's done, and I'm sick and tired, and I'm going to bed.